What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, we got a panel of guests here. Suicide Squad is just a few weeks away. Exciting times, maybe divisive times too, but we want to talk about some of the stuff that we saw today. These two on my far right over here, they know their stuff. They've been watching a few hours of it. Sway and I have been kind of in the dark. So, well, we're going to talk about all of it, right? The live stream that was today. We can talk a little bit about the Insider episode on Monday, post-launch stuff, current stuff, all that jazz. So, gentlemen, I'll have you introduce yourselves. Make sure you guys, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on YouTube, you follow these guys, you support them. Great, great people. And the panel might actually grow as the show goes on. We're unsure. But this is kind of just the start. Hopefully we can do something after the game comes out, like a spoiler cast type thing. So, King Greek, do you wanna start? And we'll just go, diagonal kind of.
Yeah, we can. Hi. Hello,
That was
everybody.
perfect timing. That was great.
My name is King. I'm a black man wearing a mask on YouTube. I make content for Suicide Squad, and I'm happy to be here with everybody.
Hi, my name is Sway, and I do gaming threads on Twitter, and I'm glad to be here once again. Thank you for having me, Alex.
And I'm Taladia Plays. I cover DC, Marvel, video games, TV shows, movies, reaction, do reaction videos, a lot of that. And I also cover Suicide Squad Killer Justice League, which I'm excited for. So
Very, very nice. Well, gentlemen, I think the first thing, obviously, the live stream's happening right now with them playing it, but I kind of want to just get your thoughts. Like, we are, if you buy just the normal, the standard edition, right? 2 weeks today is the day that people are jumping in. So, and even less, if you do the deluxe. So, how's everybody like feeling about the game right now? Just your kind of current thoughts of the states of, I don't know, everybody talking about it, your own thoughts of where you are. Do you want to just talk about how you feel going in?
I feel pretty good. I think the whole thing was like it was a roller coaster. I mean, it was kind of like Gotham Knights, but a little bit more. The outcome was a little bit more better than Gotham Knights, I would say.
Yeah.
The start off was it was negative from the get go the moment they started showing full length gameplay. And then along the way, once they dropped the demo, we started seeing some positivity going. And now that a lot of people get to see the gameplay, like it's this split, it's this divide, and it's like, either you're one way or the other. You're being swayed one way or the other. But journalists didn't like it really for the most part. It's kind of like it has a life of its own. It's like the people versus like the journalists, but also people versus the people as well. So I mean, honestly, that's the best you could have hoped for with everything going on. Not to mention the news just literally dropped that Sefton Hill starts his own studio and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So you got that going on now, and I just think that it's for everything that has happened. For me personally, it made it a more exciting thing to get into, because me and you, I think we always were on the same page of like, we knew we were going to probably enjoy the story. The gameplay was going to kind of, be the toss up for us. And, like after playing with friends, after playing the game, I'm pretty confident that the gameplay is serviceable enough for me to get through the game so I can enjoy the story and things of that nature. So I think it's going to be a fun ride.
Yeah. What do you guys think?
let King Greek go first if he wants to go first.
King, what you got?
Cause like I'm watching, and like I'm watching, I'm doing it at the same time so I can stay updated on what's going on. I would say there's definitely some issues with maybe the similarity and just like how close these some of the missions are, because it seems like they're not like extremely different, but at least when it comes to like the difficulty and the weapons and the perk system, like for example the villain synergy thing that we have found out about today, because that's new. It seems like on that end they really have kind of thought this out. I was already sold on the game more so. My whole thing was just really seeing how Endgame was going to be going forward, and so far I'm not gonna say it looks amazing. It looks decent. It looks fun. It looks great. But there's still like a couple more things I kind of want to see.
Yeah.
For me, it's like I'm also watching it at the same time. Like I got to play the alpha, I really enjoyed it, and the fact that for me was the co-op features. I mean, I got to play with Stardust and got to play with some other people, which was fun, and also the fact that it's a DC game. Like, come on, who does not want love a DC game? Like, I mean, I played Gotham Knights. I enjoyed Gotham Knights for what it was, and I respect the developers so much for putting time and effort and hours into developing a game such as Suicide Squad. Now,
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of negativity online, and the fact is they never give it a chance, right? And the thing is, people got to understand, give a game a chance. You never know, you might like a game,
Yeah.
because if you go into this thinking negativity, people will think you're a negative person. You
Yeah.
d- you shouldn't think like that. That's the way I see things.
Yeah, I think like Sway said, it's a game that people have, like for me, it's a game people have already kind of decided on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know there has been talk of like kind of people up in the air waiting for that end game stuff. And I think there is genuinely an interest in the end game stuff for this game. Like, what's it going to be? How are they going to do it? But I think a lot of people have kind of made up their minds of, because at this point, it is really, you're either going to get this game and you are going to either give it a chance or you already kind of like it or you just flat out hate it, right? That's kind of the divide that at least I see. But I think that's why the tech test was so important. It felt like so many people played it, but then when you get on the internet, right, it doesn't seem like it. A lot of people had, and were like, going based off the journalists and all that. I don't know. I think they probably should have done something a little bit more open for maybe even a second round, so everybody that wants to play can play it to try it out just for like an hour or two. But what do you guys think? I mean, I guess we can probably tackle some of like the end game stuff. What do you? I guess regardless of what we saw today in these live streams, what do you like hoping to get out of this game in the long term for end game? Like what kind? And I know we talked about this a little on the Deeper Depths podcast, but like long-term support, what would you want? What do you need to kind of keep you specifically coming back?
So for me, I would say, me and you are not like big live service gamers, right? So we're
I'd say I'm
like,
the most anti one here.
yeah. So I can enjoy them if they're good, but 9 times out of 10, the issue with me is the play loop and the bullet sponginess of it. I like the feeling of like how a single player combat is, where you can dispose of an enemy, move on to the next enemy in a meaningful period of time. So for me, the way to get me coming back in these games, although I really did like the shooting, like the snappiness and the sounds of the guns and everything like that. I think for me it's story. Just give me more story. Maybe give me, like characters will obviously like give me interest in trying them. But if you put story with the characters, kind of like how at least like with Avengers with like the Black Panther DLC, for example, that got me to come back. The Hawkeye DLC, that got me to come back. And once I played those, I was pretty much like I dropped it all over again. So it was like that's probably going to be the biggest way to keep me personally playing that, or my friends, however long they continue to play it.
For me personally, obviously the end game content has to be consistency with content, consistency with DLC characters. Because I was a big Destiny 2 Division 2 player, so
Nice.
obviously there was content every month or every 3 months or whatever,
Yeah.
and that's the sort of thing I'm looking into Suicide Squad, where there's content every 3 months or every month or something, where the fan base can come back to the game and enjoy it. And for me to go into the game knowing for a fact there's going to be new characters coming and I can cover that, talk about the characters, do a depth on the character in the Arkhamverse and whatnot. So that's what's got me, what I want to see for the end game.
What do you think, King Greek?
I would say when it comes down to it, because like I do like looter shooters. For me, I already enjoy the gameplay. That's a given. for me, it's gonna be whether or not the content can actually continue to be uploaded at a consistent pace, and if the content is engaging. Because there's a lot of live service games that I play that I kind of just fall out of, specifically because I just kind of like I lose the will or the drive to keep playing, essentially, right? Like
Yeah.
I could say the same thing with Warframe or Destiny. It might be fun for a couple of minutes or a few hours, but it's hard for me to find one that I could just like really just sit there and kind of lock into. And as they said earlier, Derek, as he has said in the stream, that they're going to be talking about it in the next episode. It seems like there's a very high possibility we get a roadmap next Insider. It seems like year one at the very most is planned out with a bunch of content. So
Yeah.
as long as the content is here, it's fresh, it's engaging, it keeps me wanting to come back. I feel like that's really my only issue. Like if they can knock that out, then
Yeah.
I'm good.
I mean, we'll get to comments too, as there's already some good questions. But to pick up on that point, so I've seen this kind of talk online of almost surprise that they're able to put together. And like you said, King Greek, I agree. I think you're going to get some sort of roadmap. But that almost seems to shock people that before the game launches that they'd have. So are you, I guess the final question from me, at least for now, and then we'll go to the chat. Are you happy with like the direction that they're moving communication wise? Because they seem, to me at least, they seem a little ahead of the curve where they're not going to wait for the game to come out and then kind of they're actually doing it, a few weeks before. So do you like how they're handling it? And we'll go from there.
I think that this is the most tasteful I've seen live service attempted to be done since Halo. It's a different experience. Coming from just in general, like for example, I moderate for the AEW game and they get no information, no roadmap, nothing. You know what I'm saying? And the community gets frustrated about it. And that happens more times than not with a lot of games, surprisingly. And the fact that we're getting a roadmap before the game comes out, the fact that they're telling us like the whole first year's DLC is free, the fact that it's leading with goodwill. And that is the most important part. And I feel like that is a shock for a lot of people because not that many live service games will do that. And I feel like also, I mean, whether it's natural goodwill or like they knew that the response was rocky, so they had to do something to balance it out, we will never know that. But it is a breath of fresh air, and it does give people who maybe don't like live service games that extra glance of like, you're handling this tastefully. You seem like you got a plan. You seem like, the whole first year's run is free. You might can win me over if I'm enjoying myself for the first year to maybe pay for the second year and the third year and however long you continue to support it.
Yeah.
I think that they're leading off on a good foot here.
I agree 100% with Sway. Like with their roadmap and everything, it's got a very what's the best way to explain it? It's got one step ahead of what Avengers had.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because they're ahead of the game and they understand the structure of how a live service game should be. So they understood, like for example, what happened to Marvel's Avengers wasn't really there, and they pointed out all the stuff that Marvel's Avengers didn't have, Suicide Squad does have.
Yeah.
So that says a lot. And furthermore, like them saying, look, it's going to be free DLC, that will get people coming to the game anyway. So that's a good thing. Now, obviously, I don't know about year 2 or year 3, but I'm still going to play it regardless because it's a game that I think I will enjoy,
Yeah.
and people might call me shill for it. I don't care what they think. I just enjoy DC games at the end of the day, and I do like other games too. I do like Spider-Man. I'm just saying. So,
Yeah.
but I just think people just got to give Suicide Squad a chance. Just don't,
I think you have good morals. That's why you're part of you're not a shill. Don't listen to those clowns.
I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, the way I feel about that is that this goes for everybody here
I mean,
and
I've been
anybody that
called
will
it, and
watch.
I've been the most critical, I think, of
Yeah.
this fork by miles, and I've been called, like paid off
Wow.
shit when I say one thing positive. So people have no idea what they're talking about.
Everyone spend their money how they want. All right. However we get money, we work hard for it. And nobody should be able to tell you what to do. It's like marriage, right? You should never let anybody judge your partner because they ain't going home with them. They not going to bed with them. That's just how it is. So like live your life, buy what you want to buy. Don't care what anybody else wants to say because they ultimately are telling you you're a shield or you shouldn't get the game because they want the game to fail because it wasn't what they wanted it to be. And that's just the fact of the matter.
Well said. I forgot what the question originally was that all three of us did King Greek, but if you wanted to answer it, you're good. I think it was more, are you impressed that they've done a good job communicating so far?
Recently, I would say yes. Like if I had to go Twitter wise, in terms of the promotion, they've been showing up in places like WWE and AEW. They've been posting regularly on Instagram. My whole issue with the promotion is that not only was it kind of staggered, the promotion where they essentially have the biggest reach, which is Twitter, was the main one that they were not posting on until recently and frequently. But it seems like as we get closer to release, like that's kind of starting to change itself. I won't sit here and say that the promotion for this game has been outstanding because it has not, but it is getting better than from what it previously was. And based off how the sponsored streams are going today, is it going to completely fix the problem? No, but like I had already voiced my issues that I personally didn't feel like Shroud and Terry weren't the best choices for this, in the sense of I don't mind that they're there. I just wish there would have been someone else from the community there as well, like J Shock Blast, Abrax, Jar, and like any one of those guys. Just like as a representative of us, as a representative of somebody that's here long term
Covering the game consistently.
Yeah. But it's going better than what I thought it was. It's definitely going better than I thought it was going to, and that's a very good thing. And I feel like it's definitely going to help the promotion out. It's definitely going to help the promotion over the next week because there's a lot of information relating to in-game gameplay wise, and then we have the insider episode, which is going to go even more into depth about some of these features. So things are definitely starting to get better.
Yeah, I get why they did it today. I mean, I had already maybe controversial. Like, I don't care about any of those people that are streaming it. It's a whole different audience, and they're so big, and it is a different audience. And those are really the two reasons I think they're chosen. It would have been better, I think, for a Caboose or J Shock, any of them to kind of do it. But and I think Hogwarts Legacy did the same thing, right? That they kind of started with the smaller, like literally us level creators, and then they jumped to just like the behemoths that didn't really care even about the game when they were having it show. So that seems like a WB thing more than like Rocksteady. But yeah, it's I think they've done a pretty good job. I mean, like if you go back to last year, it was pretty awful. They seemed like afraid of the internet, when they delaying it and not doing anything social media wise. So it's definitely been a bounce back. But yeah, I'm excited for honestly, even though I don't really like the end game stuff and post launch is the least thing I'm looking forward to. I'm actually pretty darn excited to see what they show on Monday's episode. I like this question. How mature do you think this game will be? And I think it has an M rating or whatever, right? But I mean, playing the tech tests, it seems pretty like I don't think they're making it like it's going to be a little goofy because these people are half idiots, right? Like all four of them. But I think overall it seems like a pretty darn mature thing, and I feel like what you can do with the Justice League, especially if you start taking them out, right? I feel like this game might be the darkest possibly of even like the Arkham games. So what do you guys think to that question? How mature do you think it'll go?
Well, I'll say first is that it will have the mature rating. I think they
Yeah.
were going for that from the get-go because obviously there is swearing in it, and a Suicide Squad game would have a mature rating
Yeah.
because they're using guns, right? Why wouldn't they? And the second thing is like if it was a T for teenagers, it'd be a different story, but it isn't. So
I think that the mature rating when it comes to the Suicide Squad, just the nature from comic books and especially the recent movies, especially the last movie, um, you kind of can't do them without mature rating. So I would go with. I think we're going to see some very mature language, which we already seen. Um, very mature gestures, which we already seen. Um, based on like the Batman museum, the Arkham Museum mission. We've seen somebody hung up on a wall with batarangs and bleeding and things of that nature. So I definitely don't think that like they're going to push the envelope further than they did with Arkham Knight, to be quite honest. And I think that we're going to be in store for some story moments where we're like, oh, like this is I stress to people, this is DC. DC is not scared to kill off their characters. They're not scared to show violence. They are the darker of the comic book branches. So it wouldn't shock me to see some gruesome stuff, but just prepping people, maybe. So
What do you think, Greek?
Repeat the question, please.
How
Emma
mature
Stone.
is the game going to be?
Yeah.
How mature?
Yeah. How dark? How dark? How do you think they're going to push it?
Where you scaling at?
Well, we got bodies popping up in the museum. We had Harley grabbing Deadshot's ass, knowing
but-
damn well she would get frozen in place. I feel like we've already passed the question of whether or not this game is gonna be mature. I think I feel like the question should be not how mature do we think the game is gonna get, how dark is the game gonna get? Like, is it like because it's DC? Is it gonna be like mature with some dark tones here and there? Like, oh damn, we gotta chop off Superman head, or is it gonna get dark like Apocalypse War, where pretty much boom, 90% of the universe is dead? Like, is it gonna be that dark? I feel like that should be the question, but I do feel like as the story goes on, and now that we know that the end game is going to feature Elseworlds, and as we can see from the stream, multiverse, there's a lot of different avenues. There's a lot of different avenues that they could go story wise. They can get real lighthearted. They can get funny. They can get very dark and serious. It just depends on whatever it is they want to bring in. Because as we've already seen, not only will also I don't know if anybody has seen this yet, but there's a very cool transition where the squad there's no cutscene, there's no black screen when you move over to the next area.
Yep.
You get lifted into think like the Flash scene from the movie where they were in that little arena looking at all of the different universes. You
Yep.
get pulled into something like that, and you see all of these different worlds out in the space, and then you get sucked into the next area that you're supposed to go to. And then we have the mention that Brainiac collects cities. That will kind of be how new locations gets added forward, because like Metropolis is gonna evolve. That's so new places get dropped into the city. So like essentially we're gonna be going to new places, and then new places will be coming to us.
Yeah.
there
Yes.
was-
Okay.
okay. go
I
ahead.
was
no,
gonna say
I was
it seemed like that transition of the squad that seemed to impress people from what I saw online.
Yeah.
All right. I was gonna. I think now would be a good time considering we are only a few weeks away. I've always wanted to ask the question. I think all of us have probably talked about it a little bit in the past. Which Suicide Squad or which Justice League members do you think are gonna die, if any? Do we want to do like a final? We'll still go on the stream a little bit while longer. But do we want to do like final predictions for who we think is gonna die? Do you think? All right. So 2 parts. Who do you think is gonna die? And do you think that's like the biggest kind of element to this that people are interested in going into the game?
I'm gonna say that the game is called Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League, right? And I get like a lot of people are against the idea of killing the Justice League, but as I said, this is not Marvel. They are not scared. Gotham Knights killed off Batman twice. Spoilers. So they truly, it's in their realm of possibility, and honestly, I want them to all die. Like I want them to kill them all. Now, are they gonna stay dead? That's an entirely different question. I wouldn't mind if they were brought back and it was undone. I just want it to happen because it's in the title. So I think every one of them will die besides Wonder Woman.
For me, I think it'll either be Batman, Flash, or Green Lantern. We'll see like a death of, honestly. And I think mainly because Batman, because of Kevin Conroy, because it has a deeper meaning for the fans. But also at the same time, Flash, because of his cheekiness, the way the character is portrayed is really funny. So I want to see how he ends up dying.
Maybe the better question so far at this point would be, who do you think's going to live? Because everybody seems everybody's just going to die. What do you think, King Greek? Who's do you think
Wonder
anybody's going to make it?
Wonder Woman is dying.
Who?
Wonder Woman is dying.
Oh man.
The Wonder Woman is dying. Superman might make it, but not completely.
So that brings me to like he mentioned Wonder Woman. I thought about this. Did anybody see that they have been very tiptoey around the question of, is this Wonder Woman the same Wonder Woman as the one from like the Monolith game?
I've actually been quite worried about this exact topic.
Exactly. And I'm like, because it technically could be. They look nothing alike. However, if she dies and it's undone and we get some multiversal stuff because of what we know about the Joker or what we were suspecting of the Joker, that technically could be the case.
I like it to an extent. It feels very like, I don't read comics. It could be comic book like. Mm-hmm. It reminds me of like the modern day Marvel DC movies though, which I can't say I'm in love with. So that's just like one thing that kind of hangs over it for me. But I mean, but it's different, I guess, like speculating and then like if it actually happens and we see it, right? Like I think I can get behind it. I definitely get. I don't know if I would prefer them to do that, but yes, it's funny you mentioned that, Sweat, because they asked them like point blank and they said what? It's like our version of Wonder Woman. Like their answer was really odd.
Yeah,
it definitely sounded like it. It could be.
I hope not.
Yeah, but it's been in the works for so long. But Monolith could have also been working on the Wonder Woman game for a long time too. So it's possible they had that conversation. I don't know. That's a great question. What do you two think? That's a good question.
I don't think it's connected at all to the Arkhamverse, in my opinion, because the Wonder Woman game, the costume design is different to the one from the Arkham games.
Yep.
Second thing is, like Monolith, when they revealed it, was in 2021.
Yeah.
Now, Rocksteady revealed Suicide Squad the year before, so it would kind of be weird if they, do this thing and say, "Oh, Wonder Woman's dead," and bring her back, and then confuses the fans on thinking, "Okay, which version of Wonder Woman is this?" You see, the general audience. I mean, that's what I meant to say. Yeah, the general audience would be confused. But us fans, I think we'll know which Wonder Woman is which.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I don't think I don't think the Wonder Woman will be connected to the Wonder Woman game.
See, and what you said right there, like that is what that's what reminds me of the movie situation, where it's like
Mm.
you have to worry about general audience versus fan. You know what I mean? Like that kind of mindset. And that's where that's the distaste, that I don't really like about it. I think we would be quite fine with it and be able to
Yeah.
like handle it. But just even having to have that conversation is already kind of, messy or annoying. And so you just don't need to do it. King Greek, what do you think? Is it the same Wonder Woman?
Repeat the question, please.
Is it the same Wonder Woman? is Wonder Woman from Monolith's game the same as Suicide Squad?
Not at all. And the fact that Elseworlds is involved mean it definitely doesn't have to fucking be.
Very good.
Which I'm
Good.
glad that James Gunn did say that. Like, I think a lot of people missed that, but he actually, I think it was on Threads.
Yeah.
Somebody did ask him, were all games going to be, like DCU canon, and he said no, they're not. He also said that the Arkhamverse is going to continue, and like, so I feel like that added a layer of breath of fresh air, because now we ain't got to necessarily worry about every game being connected. We don't have to worry about like the voice actors having roles taken away from them and things of that nature. We can still get Tara Strong, because I doubt they're going to use her in the movies. So we can still get games with that Harley and things of that nature. So I'm just glad that it was transparently put out there, because every time it had been discussed, the wording had been weird. So
Plus, as well, like James Gunn did say on Threads that there are AAA games that are in development with the DCU studios. I don't know if you noticed that.
mhm.
So it's like, okay, James Gunn is doing his DCU things. It just doesn't have to connect to Arkhamverse, but still, he can hype those other games, the Arkhamverse, whatever NetherRealm is doing with Injustice, or whatever WB Montreal is doing with their second game. At least he can hype those games up when time is right.
This is a non-Suicide Squad question, but what do you guys think is the first DC game that is connected, and who do you think it comes from? Because I think like Superman is easy, and that's kind of my almost default answer. But has anybody got anything to say about it?
I think Superman should be, because of how long we've waited to have one.
Yeah.
And
it's gonna be like what's the combination of like the creature command? It's gonna be like something like that, like kind of like out left field,
It could be. I could also see there being a case for a Batman game. I know that people want, like the Arkhamverse is pretty much now, we can pretty much call it the Justice League verse at this point. Like Kevin Conroy isn't here. I doubt they're going to focus as much on Batman going forward after this game. We know the Arkhamverse is continuing. We don't know how it's continuing though. But I doubt that he's going to be like the center focal point. And with the Brave and the Bold movies, I feel like because of all of the Robins are in their adult phases, that opens up the room for you to kind of do like anything you want, like tell older stories. And that's kind of like what I originally always said, which is that they can tell stories. And even Superman, when he starts in his first movie, he's already years into his career. So these games could literally take place before, after an event. They can do the bigger storylines that maybe are too expensive to do in movies. So they can get as grand as they want without necessarily having to lead into, because all the movies have to do is call back to like, hey, you remember that one battle that we did? And then we look at it like, oh, that's where the game was. So it really, they can take it many different ways to go about it. But yeah, I think that's pretty much what we're looking at.
Yeah, I agree with Sway, but also if you think about it, they could do what the Indiana Jones's game is doing, where it's taking place in between the first film and the second film.
Yep.
They could do that, and it can work. And I honestly think that, in my opinion, it should be Superman. Honestly, in all fairness, because Superman is the. Well,
I'm sorry. I forgot I was on stream for a second. They're at the point of asking questions on the stream. Lupo presented a question to Dark, and it was PvP.
He asked them if there's gonna be PvP.
We got a very non-direct answer. That's all I'm gonna say. We got a very non-direct answer.
That's interesting.
That is very
Breaking
interesting.
news,
Can't
chat.
can't
News.
like because I believe it was something along the lines of can't speak on that yet. I believe that's what he said. I believe that's what he said, but it was a very non-direct answer.
I will say this though, it doesn't. I don't want to get anybody's hopes up, but dealing with NDAs, they cover like sometimes they cover topics. So like even if there is no PvP in the game, it could still they can't talk about it. So even if it's a no, they technically might not be able to say it's a no.
Yeah, no answer quite yet for me. That's what I said. No answer quite yet for me.
I think
Yeah.
that makes. I mean, you want to have it like we've talked about. Playing with friends, and you don't always have to play with them. You could, playing against them is also fun. So I could imagine them
Same.
finding a way to and not even out of desperation. Eventually, if a game lasts so many years, you have to come up with different kinds of stuff to keep it going. Eventually, you just run out, right? You could say there's like endless stories, but there is not endless budget and all that. So yeah, to do a mode that maybe is on like the brink, that you could do it.
And I mean, Arkham Origins kind of,
What?
Arkham Origins kind of set the tone for that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've tried to play some of the older, like I wanted to play Dead Space 2's multiplayer before they shut it down. Arkham Origins, I'm actually kind of surprised Arkham Origins, that multiplayer was actually something special.
Have you ever played Gotham Imposters?
Yes, I did.
Yes,
I did. And I forget that game existed many, many times, but I did. And I remember the lead up and the trailers and all that stuff for that game. What an interesting game. I feel like that game died very quickly, though.
Very quickly.
Yeah, it did.
And
it was tied to the Arkham games, funnily enough. Like the promotion.
Really? Oh,
yeah, it was cross promoted with the Arkham game. Yeah.
Oh my god. Here's a reverse question to the DC connected one. You think there'd be a Superman game that's not like do you almost think that it rules it out now because of James Gunn and all that now?
No.
Do you think we could just do it?
David Zaslav has an obsession with Superman. A very strong obsession with Superman. In fact, his leading statement with DC is that when he first bought it, he said that he could not believe that there has not been a Superman movie in a decade.
Yeah.
I believe he wants to pump. That's the main reason why I honestly think that will be the first game we get connected to the DCU, is simply because of how much he loves him. Look at like the first movie coming out is a Superman movie. He's leading with it, which he should. I think that because of how much of a focal point, and Superman is the center of DC's universe. Like in comic books, he should always be the center. He's where it starts. So with that being said, I think that he's going to pump out a lot of Superman things. I think he's going to pump out a lot of Superman shows, movies, canon, not canon. I think he's going to go nuts with the Superman, especially with the announcement that it's going to go public domain in 10 years. Now, they can't use the Superman that flies in public domain, but it's just a lot of things to consider. But I think that, yes, that will be the thing. TP?
Yeah, for me, it's like, I can see what David Zaslav is doing. Like he wants to make Superman the top dollar, and obviously outsell what Batman was back in the mid 2000s, which was like top dollar. It sold IPs all over. It sold a lot of media, from movies, television shows, animation, video games. It did a lot for Batman, whereas Superman hasn't got anything. Now, I believe, and I'm still putting my hands on this, I still believe WB Montreal are be the ones to make the Superman game.
I think you and me are on the same page there.
And I think I think David Zaslav and James Gunn are probably asked WB Montreal to change the script on what they were originally going to do for the Superman game.
Yeah.
Because of the Superman movie. If you think about it, they could announce it this year and get the game out by next year. That was what the case was with Gotham Knights, for example. That was supposed to come out in 2021, but
Yeah.
it was revealed in 2020. So, you know, you never know.
What's up, King Greek? You look like you had something to say.
Go
Oh,
ahead, Geek Greek.
oh
He
no,
did.
so like, yeah, no, I'm saying now I'm locked into the streams because I'm watching everybody's at once. I'm gonna need you to repeat the question to me. But so far, honest opinions, like promotion aside, Lupo definitely likes the game. It's compared it to Borderlands. Shroud seems to like it as well. That's a very good thing. I was not watching the other guy. Just kind of there's a lot of voices in my ear. Can't can't balance all that. But
Borderlands was one, right? Sunset Overdrive with movement, and then
Mhm.
Borderlands with gameplay and feel and stuff like that. That's not a
Yeah.
bad, and I think we talked about it on Deeper Depths. Like that's not a bad combination. Sunset Overdrive is nobody really like played it in the grand scheme of things. It's not the most wildly popular game out there, but Borderlands is. So I think having that comparison is not bad at all.
No.
mhm.
The question was basically, do you think there's going to be Superman games like outside, like not tied to the DCU?
As in James Gunn's timeline, right?
Yeah. Do you think it's going to be games outside of that for Superman?
I would say very much so, yes, because Superman is one of the most requested games. I do believe that we're gonna get it at some point. If anything, we might have multiple because the way I see it is kind of we're gonna have the movie tie-ins because again he wants to connect everything across all forms of media. We're gonna have those, and then we're gonna have these other games that are disconnected, and that allows them to tell their own story, which is why we do like which was the same thing when we found out that Suicide Squad was not related to the Suicide Squad, the movie. I do believe we're gonna get one. I think it's just more so a question of this. It's a question at this point of not when we're gonna get it because let's be honest, we make predictions all the time and everybody's usually wrong because of Superman. But it's not when we're gonna get it. It's who's gonna be the one making it. That's the question because like for example, the Indiana Jones game, I had never heard of that studio before then.
Wolfenstein. Are you serious?
Okay,
man.
okay, no, I mean no. Okay, yeah, no. I know the Wolfenstein's games before. I've played a little bit
Yeah.
of it, but it was like it's
Yeah, they're not like the
Hmm.
most recognizable studio name. Literally. They're
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't
Yeah,
call
like-
them nobodies yet. But
yeah,
I
no,
would-
yeah, no, yeah.
they're not.
They're
known.
not.
They're not that known.
Yeah, no, yeah, they're not nobody. It's just like because when I think of game studios in my head, you got Bethesda, you got Arcane, I guess you could say Sony. Like this, they're not a name that
They're not a
comes to
household.
my head. Yeah, they're not a name that comes to my head right away. Or you have to think like it's like they're a lesser known company. But Indiana Jones does look cool. Yeah, it's really just a matter of who is it, because I feel like that's going to be the question. That needs to be the question going forward, not necessarily who. Not when is it coming, but who's going to be making it. Because if it's not Rocksteady, best believe they're going to get compared to Rocksteady.
I see something in the chat and it prompts me to ask a question.
What's
It's
comment?
the live service element thing. Do we think that because of the statements that they've made, I strongly doubt that they're not gonna get rid of like all like single player experiences. I think like it's totally possible that we will have like say like a Batman Arkham traditional experience, but with like a live service element in the game, like maybe another mode in the game or something like that. But do we think that there's gonna be like everything is gonna have like live service? Like,
They
do we think
literally
everything is gonna-
said that they want, but as people, so like obviously I'm pretty negative towards all that, but as people have pointed out to me, and I think rightfully so, sometimes I need to get checked. Like Assassin's Creed, the newer Assassin's Creed, like some of those are live service in a way that they support. Is it Odyssey or Valhalla, or maybe both? Then they
Mhm.
support them for like 2 years of content, afterwards. So I think it is possible to do a single player open world, thing, even RPG, and to still call it that, to still have those elements of monetization. I think you're going to get it. Yeah, I think they're going to try to insert it everywhere. Like even, back in the day, Shadow of War, right? It had no place being in that, and that was a really bad, attempt. But I think every game will have, but it will not be to this extent. I think of like Suicide Squad, and that's why I think Monolith with Wonder Woman has been so open. It's single player, open world, like over. And even when I did the story of the the job posting, and they said, it's single player, open world, whatever. They seem pretty defensive about it. Where it's like I think they want you to know that that's the core, and then maybe they'll monetize something else in it. But if there's a Superman live service game, that's not going to go over well.
No.
And it should. Yeah. It should.
I mean, for a Superman live service game, you'd be something more along the lines of what Batman Arkham Knight was. That's what it's probably going to be like.
Yeah.
If we were going to get a live service model into it, with like story packs, skins, that's the live service elements we're going to be added into the game. If that's what WB is intended to do. Now, I'll also say this, right? I don't think they're going to bring Superboy into it like Jonathan Kent or anything, because right now he's not doing well in the comics and he's a redundant character, I'm afraid to say. So, if anything, it'll be focused mainly on the Clark Kent Superman, nothing else. So that's what I've got to say about that. What about you, King Greek?
Repeat the question, please.
Do you think that like all DC games going forward is gonna have like live service? Like, do you think Superman is gonna have like a live, like it's gonna be live service? Because honestly, like TP said, like DLC, like story DLC, I never considered that live service. Like I kind of considered things like Battle Pass and like continued support. But if we're counting like story DLC as like live service now, then I would say yes.
I think the industry does. I think the industry considers that. Yeah.
Yeah. So now it's like that. The definition just literally it got swooped into that. So like my mind never even encountered like traditional DLC as live service. Like my brain didn't process it that way. So like until you literally just said it, I was like, okay, so like does the industry like consider that live service now as well? Or so
Ubisoft might, for sure.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Ubisoft considers anything live service.
If I had to put it into a percentage, I don't want to base it off Suicide Squad specifically just because I know how early games can go into development. Like I'm pretty sure there's another live service DC game that's in development right now that we probably don't even know about. I would put it at like a 70. I would put it at like a 70 to 30 percentage because that's me taking into account all of the games that's supposed to tie in with with James's main timeline, which all cannot be live service because if one of those games ends up fails and falling apart and that story can't continue, that has to kind of bounce back in the movie. All of those games definitely won't be live service. Elseworlds games, that's a different story because like I said, you have Suicide Squad, but then you're also going to want to have other games that are Elseworlds but are also not live service because you still like want those different experiences. I would have to put it 70-30, and that's just purely dependent on how hard Zaslav is trying to double down on the making a majority of these games live service element. Like if he's really going all out, I can maybe see that being 85-15, but as of right now, I feel safe giving it like a 70-30, 60-40 at most.
Yeah. The bigger issue with them is just making games. Like 85-15 would imply like you have 8, 9, 10, 11 games, and in reality they have like 2, right? So it's harder to percentage it. It's almost like you're either gonna have 100% or 0, or I guess 50 if it's 1 and 1, right? That's kind of all you got right now. So live service is definitely a thing people will talk about, and I'm sure we'll all talk about it. But at this point, I think they just need to make more than like 2 games at once.
Yeah, there needs to be 3, 4, maybe 5 DC games annually.
There's like 6 Marvel games in the works right now, that we know of, that we even know of, and there's 2 DC ones, and that's pathetic. Honestly, that's bad.
And use some studios that you don't own, please.
Yeah.
please.
And then to see the rumor of, or not rumor, but that analyst that said they might buy studios. So they're not looking to make third, kind of contract deals. They just want to own them maybe outright. I don't really care how you do it. Just get some studios.
I just want an Aquaman game made by Guerrilla, please. That is it.
You know what? That was a question. Have we ever addressed this? Like, what's going on with Aquaman and Suicide Squad? I know this.
I think they're saving them for DLC, honestly, or either that or they're like somebody for us to go against, like story DLC. Like I honestly think that they're saving them because I noticed that out the gate. Also, we don't have Cyborg. We don't have like the entire Justice League is not in the game. So I mean, I think that they're smart enough to know like if we do kill off some members, like we might have to, because that's the brilliance of it. Is like I'm thinking of Endgame, and theoretically in the story, if the Justice League were to survive this game, there would be no need for the Suicide Squad to still save Metropolis afterwards. So that's also one thing that, like, thinking about it, I'm like, okay, if they're not there, you can feed in heroes and villains for us to fight because we're under Amanda Waller's control at the end of the day. So even if it's other villains, our villains have to take out those villains in order for the bombs not to go off in their head. And obviously the heroes, we're just going to go after them as well. But that's something that I have been thinking about is like, if they don't die, what is the narrative reason of why, like, we're still here?
There were two different comments on this, and I know there was one thing going on online, a theory about like robots or like not real, I guess, Justice League members, right? Maybe you guys have seen that. And then even like this comment, I have a theory that Suicide Squad is in an alternate universe so they could get away with killing the Justice League off. So like, I guess if maybe again, final predictions almost. So if they kill people off, like, what version of the Justice League are they killing off? Do you think there could be something to that, Android kind of rumor going on? Or do you think these are the legitimate, these are the Justice League of that world and they're going to kill them?
Mind you, it could be a Brainiac clone type of thing. Right? Because we do know Brainiac has the ability to clone people, turn them into, actual humans and whatnot. So I do think that's a possibility out there to have that, and that basically the clone Justice League are the people actually killing off people.
Yeah. Would you accept that? Because I think there would be a divide. Like I actually said I'd be okay with it if they wanted to say they were clones and you killed the clones. Like that would be an Arkham Knight like twist where like you could see it coming, but it's still somewhat surprising in the moment. But I know it would make people mad. But I personally wouldn't care all that much. Weirdly enough, I wouldn't care all that much.
You see, I wouldn't bother me because that could set up a Justice League game, down the line.
Yeah.
So it would definitely work in that favor.
With James Gunn saying that the Arkham universe is going to continue, I mean, it's kind of like, how are you going to continue with no Justice League? That's why there was a Joker coming back, because I remember me and King Greek had a lot of conversations about that, and my main reason of why this was my original take was that this was going to be the last Arkham game, because the developers and the team themselves wanted to get away from Arkham, not to mention that so much of the story is like the Joker wasn't there. If you're going to do a Justice League game, you're going to want the Legion of Doom. You're going to want all of them there. And there were so many characters killed off in the Arkham franchise that you would not have wanted to try to do one in this universe. But, we're getting a Joker from maybe an alternate universe now and things of that nature. So now it's like you can, but I think that honestly, even if you don't do the clones, I think that what would go over well, which would be a happy medium, is to kill the Justice League in this universe, and just like the Joker, maybe bring another Justice League over from another universe. That's how I would handle that at this point.
Yeah,
that's a good theory, by the way.
I don't remember this, but I definitely believe it. Remember, it was leaked when the game was announced that Aquaman was already dead before the start of the game. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah, I do. It was on Reddit or 4chan or one of those
Yeah.
farm sites.
I
And it's
definitely I believe it. I just don't. I don't remember. Maybe I do. Like, I don't know if I covered that or not. That'd be interesting. But I think we're allowed to talk about this, right? Because we played
Mm.
the tech test. You just can't
Mhm.
show it. So like it's. I don't think it was the entire like opening. I think they maybe skipped a few, but generally, like, if it was 2-3 hours worth of the story stuff, like that was a good chunk of the beginning of the game. So I
Yeah.
guess, and I'm saying it just for this specific thing. I wonder if there's a moment where they talk about Aquaman, and would you do that in the beginning of the game? Is that just like a throwaway conversation you hear a Justice League member say, in the middle of the game? I wonder how you, even if he is like Sway said, which I think makes a lot of sense, a post-launch kind of villain that you would fight. You think you would mention it, you'd hear somebody bring it up in the world. So I don't know.
I think that's a perfect time to do it, honestly, because at that time the Suicide Squad are not the Suicide Squad until they're not Task Force X until they all get the bombs implanted.
Right.
Which that was a comedic way in how they got that done.
Yeah, I like that.
But I could see them asking Waller, like, hey, like, who were the older members? Like, who were the older members of Task Force X? And who are this and that and the third? And in that conversation, they'll probably mention, like, like, oh, yeah, like, they died around the time Aquaman died or something like that. Or something like, I could see that being either that or, like, the Justice League mentioning them, during an emotional moment or something like that. Or maybe Wonder Woman mentioning that happens later on in the game, but I could easily see the beginning of the game being that portion where that's mentioned.
I like the Wonder Woman actually quite a bit. Like, going back to, I liked her a lot in the tech test. So having her die, I think it is kind of like, it is what scares me, because I think that's almost like a slam dunk, where if she's going to be helping you that much, taking out she's probably going to get caught up in some fight and die. Whether it's Superman. Superman obviously would make maybe the most sense, but I liked her a lot, actually. So I don't know. I don't really want her to die, but
I don't want her to die, at least until the end, only because I think the elephant in the room is everybody's, like, whether they said it out loud or not, is in no world would you believe that the Suicide Squad could kill the Justice League. So you would kind of need her to make that believable.
Yep. Yeah, I don't. Because then there's the thing of, like, do they get lucky? Is it but then it's like you have to have like a really good string of luck, right?
Yeah.
To outluck Flash, Batman, just go down the list, right? That would be, especially with Batman just destroying you, and then for it to be such a big twist or like I guess like flipping the script, right? Where you're now suddenly so much better than Batman. I don't know how you can do that with the same humans. You would need help. So. Yeah, I agree. I think she needs to help you take out literally everybody, and then just die against Superman. And then I don't even know how you handle Superman in general. But I guess there's one way I can think of, actually. Final thoughts before we end the stream. I guess kind of like the first question we asked: how are you feeling? What are you looking forward to? Last things you want to say before really this game comes out again. I definitely want to have you guys back. Great people, great guests, and great creators. And we'll try to get everybody and maybe even more people back once the game is out. But just final things you want to say about this game.
You want to go first?
No, you go first.
Okay. I think ultimately, I'm excited for it. One thing that I didn't expect this game to give me, and I don't know if you guys felt the same, but specifically during the Arkham Museum thing and like the mission, there was a portion where, like, obviously you're injected, you have fear toxin, and you're like, Batman is in the room.
Yeah.
And I remember saying this on Twitter, but like I had never expected to feel like the thugs that I have feared takedown for decades now. For a decade now. Like, I had never expected to feel like that. Like, the moment my friend was taken down first, he literally screamed, "It's Batman." And it made it all the more funny because when the rest of us looked over, we just seen this body on the ground. So now we're like back to back, like the thugs were. And it was like, it came full circle for me. And it was at that moment where I was like, even from a gameplay perspective, which I had my doubts about, even if you don't like the shooting, even if they are creative and it tied back into the fundamental gameplay of like what the Arkhamverse originally was for me. And I'm excited about this game. I think that it's going to have some surprises that everybody's going to be able to enjoy. And my prediction for the game is that honestly, it's going to be looked upon more lightly than people expected.
What do you guys think?
For me, I'm excited for the game. Like I'm looking forward to um playing with my friends, because when I got to play the I'm excited as well for the co-op feature. That's what's got me really excited for Suicide Squad. I'm also hyped for the boss fights, because
Yeah.
especially the Batman one with the nightmares. Because when we saw the trailer for the when we got to see the what's it called, the fear toxin,
Yeah.
and that boss, that's what's got me really excited for the game. Because
Yeah.
I'm just like, imagine the four of us just trying to take on Batman, and one of us fails.
Yeah.
It'd be funny to do as a content. So
Yep. What do you think, Greek?
Rephrase the question, please. I don't realize my mic is muted.
Just what do you think? Your final thoughts when all's said and done.
Think we fucking won, Alex. Think we fucking won here. It's very refreshing. Like at first glance, right? It's very refreshing to see. It genuinely looks like we might have a superhero looter shooter, that actually has its shit together.
Which is pretty rare.
Because we all know what happened with the previous games. A lot of the things that we were worried about, like I said, like in game, post launch. The reason why this was so important is because a lot of people are already buying the game for the story. That's very clear. We needed to know what was after for the rest of us, because if that stuff wasn't here, I'm not gonna lie, we were screwed. It was gonna be Avengers again. A decent story, little to no in game. Now, there's a lot that they could do. The game already, like, just from a gameplay standpoint, the game already looks very fun. Like, if you're into like making cracked out builds and min maxing and things of that nature, you can do that, because, like I said, because the mastery levels, which are the difficulty system, that like the mastery levels is another difficulty system. So like think like elements and modifiers, like weather, you might get hit with a lightning strike or something. There's 13 levels of that, and there's apparently way more. So the game just progressively gets harder. We got to look at the Paragon tree, which just lets you infinitely level up your power, like Division. It feels like we're in a good spot. Out of everything that we've seen today, it feels even more like we're in a good spot. Granted, we still have to wait to see because that's really the last question at this point, is how often we're gonna get the post-launch content, and if that's gonna be at the par. Outside of that, everything else looks solid. I'm excited for it. I'm very happy that the stream went well today, and that Lubo and Shroud seem to have liked it, because again, even though I would have chosen some other people, it still went well, so I can't be mad at that. And it seems like they definitely are getting more people to the game. You know, more people, more money, more content. It's just I want next week to fly by.
It's looking the most positive that it's looked in a long. Even though, but like I said, I think it's because everybody's picked a side, and it's not even, like, again, I've been the most critical, I think, on this game of the four of us, and so I get it. Like, if people just outright hate it or don't want to give it a try, I think that's fine. But I think everybody's picked their side. Finally, you know what I mean? Where it's like finally it's over. So that now that you're only just a few weeks in, if you want to play it, you're going to play it, and we can finally have those talks. And I think a good amount of people are really going to like it. And if you're not going to play it, you're not going to play, you know what I mean? So I think everything's kind of settled. I feel like that's really what's happened really since the creators, or not, I guess people were able to talk right about the closed tech test. Right after that, I feel like everybody picked their side and then kind of, generally settled down more than they have in the past, which is nuts because, like you guys have said, I actually kept forgetting about this. DC fandom or whatever 2020, like it's been that. You think of Gotham Knights then, and you were still kind of like Hogwarts territory, and you forget maybe the Suicide Squad the exact same time. Like it's actually kind of nuts. That's been that long. Here we are. Here we are after so many years.
Who would have thought?
And delays and all that. Yeah. Who would have thought? Who would have thought we'd be here?
4 years later.
Yeah. I mean, time moves fast. and DC fandom actually, like, Suicide Squad outlived DC fandom because DC fandom. So if you think about it like that, that's quite interesting, right?
Wait, is DC fandom over?
Yeah,
no, they still.
I think that they can still have one. They just haven't had one. Like they didn't say that they were not going to do it.
They can come back, but they did kill it. Like it is.
They killed it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say how the hell I missed that.
Yeah.
No, it was no official statement. It was just something we all decided. It's dead.
Well, because 2020 was the first one they did, wasn't it? And they did.
And then 2021.
They did the year after, and it was a different kind of show. And I felt like the year before was maybe better, and then they just didn't do it after. Yeah, they didn't like say we're never doing it again, but they just stopped doing it.
Yeah. I think the only thing that they did was they said that, like in 2022 that they weren't doing one that year, and then they just never did anything else.
And then in 2023 they didn't say a freaking word.
Nope.
Yeah, they just didn't care. All right. Well, I want to thank the guests. Make sure you guys again support them, whether it's Twitter or YouTube or whatever. Great people, great creators. I'm sure we'll all be talking about Suicide Squad over the next couple of weeks. Thank you to the chat. Thank you to the viewers after, watching this as a video. We really appreciate it. Again, hopefully we can be back here in 3-4 weeks and we'll do some sort of spoiler cast, for Suicide Squad. All right. Have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll see you all on the next one.